Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Keon, and based on the beginning credits, you probably know what the show is all about. Today, we're going to start the first of 10 episodes of Full Time RV. Okay. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about why people full time. I'm going to give you a little bit about my story and why I did it. Talk a little bit about why people choose to do it. We're going to talk a little bit about the benefits, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the headaches. And I keep saying a little bit because I'm trying to keep these videos 10 minutes or less so you will actually watch it and enjoy it. Nevertheless, let's break into it a little bit. So, what in the world is full-timing? Full-time RVing means that you live in an RV 100% of the time. It is your residence. It's your primary living abode. Now, an RV, let's talk about that. An RV is a recreational vehicle. It could be a boat. It could be a tent that is on wheels, like a pop-up, all the way up to fifth wheel, bumper pull, trailer type, class A, B, C, be it gas, diesel, motorized. Okay, that is what an RV is, recreational vehicle. So people decide that they want to live on these type of things all the time. Okay, for the purposes of this show, we are dealing specifically with vehicles that are on the ground, not in the water. Boating is a whole different ball of wax than what we're going to deal with today. A lot of people decide that they want to start full-time RVing because they think it's cheaper than a traditional home. The reality is, yeah, that can be the case. However, some of our RVs cost as much as a house. They can start brand new at, for a Class A, you're looking at $125,000 and up. If you decide to go Class A diesel, you're talking starting $275,000 and greater. So it's not necessarily cheaper in that respect. The people who decide to do it that way are more so in it because they want this particular lifestyle versus having a traditional brick and mortar house. Nevertheless, they decide instead of having a house, let me get something that moves. I don't care what I, pay for it. And they kind of, do their thing. Could it be cheaper? The answer is yes. Most people don't go that route. They go for something either previously owned or less expensive. A lot of people decided to go full-time RVing because they want to be a nomad. And there's nothing wrong with that. I got a good friend. In fact, Nomadic Fanatic. If you ever just Google him, cool dude. I met him once or twice and we've corresponded back and forth. He's a nomad. He doesn't have like a stationary anything. Loves it. Travels the country, gets paid by various people, however he does it sponsor-wise, and that's how he makes his money. Real cool guy. He's just a nomad. Some people end up in situational situations, okay, where you end up having to do an RV or for whatever reason. It could be that the, house caught on fire or there's an issue with it. In my case, it was because of divorce. I ended up separated. It was easier for me to take all of my stuff and pack it up into 315 square feet and move to a campground than it was for me to go out and grab an apartment and then go through the waiting process and this and this and that. You know how it goes. So for me, it was just purely situational. Got a divorce, got separated, moved into the coach, out of the house. Just how it happened. A lot of people full-time RV because they work remotely or their job moves them from place to place. A lot of nurses, OTs, PTs, doctors, military, they decide to go with this lifestyle because instead of trying to put roots down and then have to get rid of a brick and mortar, they just back the truck up or in my case, throw the car in the back, keep it moving. Just what it is. Living in an RV does not mean that you're homeless. Do not let people tell you that. You do have a home. I don't understand why America all of a sudden equates home to this sticks, brick, mortar, apartment, house. Look, you are not homeless. You have a home. Yours just happens to move. Nothing wrong with that. Depending on where you are in the country, and I got some data from a full-time RVing group. I want to thank you guys so much because you helped. Depending on where you are in the country, it may not necessarily be cheaper, but it may be. It just really depends. If you're in California and you're on the coast, expect to pay $1,700 a month for a campsite. Plus, if you have a note on your rig. plus electric, and then your other, day to day. Farther south, Texas, Louisiana, about 7 or so. The cheapest I've ever seen, Tennessee, $350, and you're good to go. Don't know what you're getting for that. You might not get a big Olympic-sized pool, but you might get just your basics, your electric, your water, your sewer, and a really nice-sized space, because that's really all you need. Any other amenities, you can go to the laundromat. You could go to the local park if you want to take the kids to hang out or whatever. But Tennessee, by far, has been the cheapest, followed by like North Carolina, South Carolina at $450, $500, somewhere in there. Mid-Atlantic region, we're paying anywhere from $9 to about $1,100, depending on where you are. And it could be more depending on if you're closer to DC. That's the other thing. The more you are to a quote-unquote large metropolitan area, the more cha-ching that's going to cost you. And it's just what it is. Florida is pretty reasonable. You can actually buy a site in Florida and just kind of just own the site. There are some intricacies with that I'm not going to get into because I'm not a tax attorney. I don't want to get into any of that. Look into it real good if you decide to buy a site. That's all I'm going to say about that. So the long story short is RVing is not for everybody, especially full timing. It is a learned, accepted thing because a lot is going on when you start talking about full timing. It just is what it is. When you are full timing, you cannot have a bunch of stuff. You have to condense down. And especially if you have two people living in there, husband and wife, or your partner, or whatever it is, like, you really got to make some stuff happen. I can tell you some stories about that, but the show is not about that. It takes a lot of communication and a lot of understanding that you can't have everything. If you buy a shirt, you got to get rid of a shirt. In my case, there's a car out there. There's room for 4, actually, but we're only supposed to have 2. So that means, you can't be a car enthusiast and think you're going to have like 5 cars and all it. First off, you can't move it. But secondly, the space is not always practical to do that. So again, you have to learn to manage storage. Use the basement, manage it well, break it up however you decide. There are plenty of groups on Facebook that get into organization and storage in RVs. Like, get in one and figure it out. Like, those people who do it well. I've seen some really nice stuff and some really nice setups with that. So that's how you want to do that. So kind of sort of fast forwarding a little bit, we've talked about why we've got into the benefits a little bit. Again, it allows you to be mobile, especially, for those who are in that type of job. Let's talk a little bit about some headaches of full timing, okay? Because my God, there are. The biggest headache, and we're going to talk about this in a episode all by itself, is what do you do when something breaks? Unfortunately, my refrigerator is 4 times the cost of a residential refrigerator, unless I snatch this rascal out and put a residential refrigerator in if it goes bad. If I choose to stay with a RV refrigerator, the cooling unit is very expensive. It just is what it is. They are made to take the earthquake that you go through as you go down the road. And they're also able to be powered with propane and electric. And a lot of times there are some that are out there now that are 12 volt, which are really cool. Nevertheless, they are expensive. Well, what do you do? What do you do when the heat goes out? You have to have a contingency for that. What do you do if you're involved in some type of accident or a tree branch falls and you are not able to be in your unit? What do you do? You have to have a contingency early for emergencies. And again, that is going to be a whole episode on what to do in an emergency situation. So think ahead. Always be mindful of the weather and what's going on. If you live in a place where it's cold, prepare your coach, your trailer, whatever. Make sure you're weatherproofing, so that you have enough heat to keep your pipes from freezing up, so that you have enough insulation to keep from, just heating outside air, things of that nature. In the event that there's an apocalyptic snowstorm, what are you going to do? You got to prepare and think ahead. The bottom line to this first episode is know what you're getting into, understand why you're doing it, make sure you take advantage of every benefit, But most importantly, expect and prepare for the unexpected. Because if you prepare for it and you expect the unexpected, when it happens, it is what it is. You deal with it. It's no different from a house. A house is going to have issues, whether it be the roof, HVAC, plumbing, whatever. Guess what? So does this wonderful moving house that you have. Be prepared for it. Ask questions, join groups. No question is a dumb question if you don't know. And lastly, learn your unit. Know where your ACs are. Know where your water tanks are. Know how to use your hookups. No. Learn your unit. I'm at my time for this particular episode. I want to thank everybody. Make sure you subscribe, because these next several, when we start talking about cost, when we start talking about the best units to camp in, we're going to start talking specifically about the cost of campgrounds and what you're going to get. You want to be a part of this, because I'm going to give you some information that nobody wants to talk about. Thanks so much for tuning into this introduction. We'll see you real soon.